What's going on, guys? In this video I'm going to be talking about the DMT trip I had over the weekend. That's NNDMT. This is actually the first time that I had smoked NNDMT while on the path using psychedelics for self-discovery, and it's also the first time that I've done DMT in about 8 years or so. So this experience happened at about 11 at night on the last night we were there. The first night I ended up doing MDMA. This was actually the first time that I did any medicine since my dad had passed away, so I didn't know how I was going to be. I assumed I was just going to cry and just let it all out, but it didn't happen like that. I was able to just relax and talk to my friends and tell them how I felt, and tell them to go home and hug their dads on Father's Day. I was able to stay composed, which is really the main thing that I got from that experience, other than just having a pleasant time with my friends. So it was really good MDMA, so I wasn't too concerned about the next day. Like, never have a hangover with this stuff. I was smoking this Dream Herb blend. It had like Damiana, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing these, Damiana, and the Camellia Zacachichi, and it had mugwort and passion flower and some lotus thing. So it's just this blend that I have, and usually you smoke it before you go to sleep, and then it helps you have dreams. But I was just smoking it pretty much all day. It gives me like a slight euphoria. It's really, really pleasant. So I was going into the DMT experience with this, in other words. So my friend went first, and he had an experience. It wasn't very pleasant. It was his first time smoking DMT, and it wasn't. He didn't come back saying that it was a positive experience. He didn't take very much. There was still a whole bunch of the material left in the pipe. But so that him having a bad experience kind of like weighed on me a bit. Like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I'm pretty nervous. I haven't done this in a long time. The last time that I broke through is just chaos and craziness. But that was when I was doing it purely for recreational purposes. So this experience, I decided I was just going to take one hit, as big as I can. I put 50 milligrams in the pipe, and whatever I get, I get. I went to light it, and this is the first time using a torch lighter for myself, so I went to light it, and I guess the lighter was too close to the product, and this like mini fireball like came out the top, so it completely like singed the material. But after like the fireball, like it was like a second, just, and then as the light died down, I could see inside the pipe rather, and it was like there was a bunch of smoke inside, and so I lit it for another second. I just took a big hit, big as I could. Within like a couple seconds, maybe 5 seconds at most, like I coughed it out. It felt like my entire throat just like closed up, and it was just like pure burning, like just like I was breathing in charcoal or something. So I exhaled the smoke, and then there was about 5-10 seconds of like, man, I don't know if it was like anything. Like I exhaled like a large amount of smoke. So I was like waiting, and then all of a sudden it just like hit me like a freight train. My eyes went wide, and I went to like try and lay back because I wanted to have my experience laid down. I had my bed set up, and I was gonna lay back, and as I got like maybe like a quarter of the way, I just like froze in one spot. And like we were in this tent. Was really big. It's like a 14-person tent. There's only 4 of us there, but so it's like this huge like dome tent, and I've seen like a dome on DMT before, and then all the walls like kind of like peeled away layers, and it was like a computer program that wasn't quite finished yet. Like everything was green, had green triangles, so it was almost like it was in the Matrix, but not quite Matrixy. But it was just like a unfinished rendering of like a 3-dimensional shape. So I could see the walls, but it was like high def, like way higher def than soberness reality. And so that was the first thing to change. And then I was like kind of sitting there like frozen, and I could feel that feeling, that rise up, and it was like, okay, I got enough. And then from there was just like this tightrope that laid out in front of me, and like it was a razor sharp line So I just like start walking along the line. I'm going along, and as I'm going along, it's kind of like water, kind of like lava beside me, and these like big pillars, these big like jello pillars would reach up and like kind of push me or pull me. And like this is a perception of the ego. Clearly, I'm Josh. I'm going along the tightrope, and God is reaching up and like poking and prodding me. So then I'd go along, and I'd kind of like fluff that one off, and I'd keep going, and then the other side, another one would come and like try and push me off and try and pull me off, and I'd keep going, and then there was another one that was trying to push me, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I just was going along, and I just said, screw this. I'm just going to surrender to this. And I just like leaned in. The next time the one that came into my right side, it grabbed me, and I just let it take me, and I just fell into the lava or river or whatever it was. And like this is all while I'm sitting symmetrical. And so I'm sitting up symmetrical, this is happening, and at the moment I fall in, I'm God, instantly, just non-dual. It's like I'm on 5-MeO DMT. I'm in that space, but it's like much less. So I'm in that space. I was like, I'm God. And I'm sitting there. And then the thought comes in, it's like, fuck, if this is enlightenment, I don't want it. I am alone. This is all that there is. Like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I open my eyes and I exhale, and this like massive amount of smoke comes out of my mouth. It's like I just exhaled like a huge rip, or like it's like I got like dragon's breath or something, and every breath I take, it's just like filling up, like just massive amount of smoke coming out. And I'm like, I'm creating this. I'm creating my own reality. Like, this is awesome. I'm creating my own reality. And so it's like, on one side there was Josh, terrified of being God, and then there was just God being God, with just fully appreciating it without the reservation. So that happened. I'm rolling back and forth, kind of like I do on 5-MeO. I'm rolling back and forth, and I'm like kind of doing a little bit of symmetrical movements, and then the next thing I know, there's the tightrope in front of me again, and I'm going along, and the same thing, like things are prodding, poking me, and then I just like, okay, screw this, I'm just gonna fall into it, and I dissolve into it. And then the next thing I remember is that I'm in that God mode again, where I'm all of, like I can't describe it. I'm all of reality, but I'm having an experience as a human being, but I'm still able to like experience. I realized I was God. I guess I always am God, but I'm God. And I exhaled the smoke. Again. And I was just like, this is like really cool. And every breath I took, I was just breathing out like massive amount of smoke. And then when the ego came back and I was on the tightrope again, and I was like, oh man, my eyes are open. I just did DMT and my eyes are open. I'm able to look around, and I look around the room, and it's all like green triangles and like purple kind of flittering around. And then I get the thought, or I remember that I'm supposed to be symmetrical, and it was just like, whoop, and I like snapped back into symmetry, and then I was like doing this again. So like that breaking is like the ego looking around, and I became aware that the ego was in control. So I surrendered to that, and then just snapped back. Because symmetry is where the healing happens. And then I went on the tightrope one more time. And then when I came back, I was like, my buddy was sitting next to me, and I'm like kind of doing my like, I wasn't speaking English, but I was like, like kind of like toning or chanting or speaking in tongues or whatever, glossolalia, whatever you call it. And while that was happening, I was trying to say, holy shit. Like I was trying to like in some form communicate with my buddy to my right, but when I was trying to say that, like English was not coming out. It was just like this like gibberish basically. And that scenario played out again, and I made it to the God place again. And then the ego came back, and then at that time it was like the ego's back, and it was just like the whole time the energy's like ramped up. It's ramped up super high. And then I was able to say, holy shit. Like, it's finally like coming down. And another thing too is that the whole experience, my throat is like seized up, and I'm like, the whole time I'm like lucid, and I'm able to think like, is this like part of the medicine experience, or did I like physically harm myself and I need to take care of that with like water, or who knows, maybe something further than that. And the first couple times, I think it was like at the end of the tight roping, and before, I'm pretty sure that's how it played out. So I was on the tightrope, and then like God would poke and prod me, and then I would have the thought like, oh, my throat's really burning. What do I do? It's like, okay, it's part of the experience. It's part of the medicine. And then I fall in, and then I'm God. So that was, yeah, that's how it worked. So finally I played through that enough. I finally made the decision that I'm like, okay, this is physical. Like, it's really hard to breathe right now. So I broke symmetry. I went and got just the closest water bottle I could find. Didn't even know who it was. Just, drank it down. Then I went back to symmetry. And I go to sit there and I close my eyes. Then my buddy's like, how was that? And it it turned it off instantly. I look over at him and I'm like, whoa. Yeah, okay. And then I just basically explained my whole experience to him. But the breathing though, was like, I felt like I made the right decision, that it was part of the medicine experience while going through it, because it consistently pushed me to like the next thing, and I was always able to maintain it. And then when I chose to like heal my physical body, then it snapped me out of it. So I feel like I chose right, but then all night, like, I was coughing and it was really hard to fall asleep. I couldn't breathe, and then the next day I was still like closed off in a bit. When my friend asked me how was it, the first thing I said was, I'm really thankful that I experienced that for myself, where I burnt the DMT, and I had to go through that for myself, because I would not want to inflict that on anybody. And then the next thing I thought was that 5-MeO DMT is like tenfold way stronger than NN-DMT. Like, I've done a lot of 5-MeO DMT, and I've worked with that, and with 5-MeO DMT I'm able to just like dive into being God, and then I'm God for 20 minutes. I'm in that non-dual space, and there isn't this like game that plays out. Or with NN-DMT, yes, I didn't take the full 50 milligrams because I burnt a bunch of it. I was still able to make it to that God space, so I would call it a breakthrough. It's just where I am on my journey, and this happened the way it happened. So yeah, but NN-DMT, there's this game of like, I'm not God, and then I'm God, and then I'm not God, and then I'm God, and I'm not God, and I have to surrender, and then I'm God. But with 5-MeO, it's just like, boom, God. You're God, you're God, you're God, you're God. And then finally it's like, what was that? Am I God? Was I God? Am I God? I am God. So yeah, just like, fuck, it's like NN-DMT is like a toy in comparison to 5-MeO DMT. So if you approach this stuff, and nothing can really prepare you, but you gotta be prepared for the unexpected, because shit. Yeah, it's just wild stuff. But that was my trip. That was my first time doing DMT in 8 years. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.